Hello my fellow chatterers and book lovers and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious or you're lost. I'm Chatty and welcome to my channel Chatty the Mad Chatter, and welcome back to part 2 of me talking about my book boxes and trying to rate them. So when I tried to move the camera to get all of the Fairyloot books in, I accidentally turned it off. So there we go, we have an abrupt ending to that video, which was ridiculously long because I'm in a waffling, rambling mood and there is no editing. So you get waffly rambles. So here we go, here are the Fairyloot books. So the one that I have read is Violet Made of Thorns, and I did not enjoy that one. So that is my least favourite. I have then ordered the rest accordingly. So I then have This Vicious Grace, have not yet read. Cruel Illusions, not read. The Ones We Burn, not read. Only a Monster, I have read and I enjoyed it. So I could still enjoy these, just not dislike them. But I think I won't enjoy them as much as I enjoyed Only a Monster, because I really enjoyed the time travel and kind of the plot of that one, and I'm intrigued and excited for the second book. I then have One Dark Window, which I'm hoping I like more than Only a Monster. Blood Scion, The Darkening, Belladonna, I have read and loved. So I'm hoping the ones that come after I love even more. And we have The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. Second place is The Stardust Thief. And the one I think I'm going to enjoy the most is Daughter of the Moon Goddess. And we will find out at some point. I'm hoping to read a few more this year and then reflect on this and see if I agree with my predictions, which is a lot of fun. So I'm now going to move on to my Shelterbox books here. Ba-ba! And I will then go through, maybe in this video, maybe not in this video, the beauty of the book and the artwork, and see which one I think is the most visually appealing, and we can just appreciate the art together and decide which covers we like the best, because I thought that'd be fun. I say we, I mean me. So I'm just going to swap the books around now. So the first book I have from the Shelter book subscription is Three Apples Fell from the Sky, and this is by Nareen Abgarian. I know very little about this one. I believe it is a story set in a little community. I don't really know any more than that. So as always, I'm going to link the descriptions to my story graph, so you can click on the links and it will take you to Storygraph, where you will get a proper synopsis if you want to know a little bit more about it. It says on the back, so like the little tagline is, the Russian bestseller about love and second chances, brimming with warmth and humour. So that sounds really nice. So I'm now rethinking my placements of everything. But it feels like it could be very one that could be hit or miss for me. So I feel like I could really enjoy it as kind of like a really light, fun, warm read. Or it could just be very kind of like meh for me, because it's not gripping me enough. If I don't get invested in the characters, then it's probably just going to be a story that I'm just not really going to get on with that much. So I've actually put this one at the end. I think it's the one that I'm going to enjoy the least. So sorry, Three Apples That Fell from the Sky. I hope I'm wrong, but I was erring more on the side of doesn't really sound like my vibe. So unless it's really quite warm-hearted and gets me in all the feels, it might just be a bit of a miss for me. So this is going to be harder because they're paperbacks, so I hope they're going to behave and stay up. I should have used one of my book stands to hold them in, but never mind. So the next book we received is Malana Yousafzai's book, which is We Are Displaced. And it says, My Journey and Stories from Refugee Girls Around the World. So this is... trying to find the rest of her name, hold on. So I remember being very excited when I first received this one, because this is another book by Malana Yousafzai, who is well known from news reports around the world, and she also released a book called I Am Malana, and she is the girl who stood up for education and was shot by the Taliban. That was the tagline of the first book. And so this is her bringing lots of different stories together about what it feels like to leave your country. So very excited for this one. Obviously I feel like it's going to be very hard hitting as well. So I kind of read those books quite sparingly because I need some more lightness in between. So I put this one as, I put this one fourth. So I think I'm really going to enjoy the subject matter. I think it's going to be a really interesting and exciting book. But I think it's also going to feel quite hard to read at certain points. So it might not make me fall completely in love with it because I think it might feel difficult to read. So yeah, I'm putting it in fourth. So it's like in the middle. So it's going there, bang in the middle. We then had Sweet Bean Paste by Durian Sukegwa. I feel like I've completely butchered that name. I do apologise. So this is a Japanese author, and it is the story of Sentaro, who works in a shop selling this sweet bean paste, and one day he is approached by an elderly woman called Toku, who wants to help him out. Because it said that they needed a volunteer to kind of help him in the kitchen, and he starts off by saying no, but then eventually he does let her come into, and it's how they kind of touch each other's lives and how they kind of grow as people from their friendship together. And we also have a third character as well. Doesn't mention her name here, but you can see on the cover. So we have Sentaro, Toku, and I can't remember the name of this girl. But they just end up forming sort of like really unlikely friendship, and we just end up finding more out about them. And it was such a beautiful story. I was very surprised by how much I fell in love with this story. It was very heartwarming. It had a lot of information that I was not expecting in here, which I'm not going to talk about now because I don't want to spoil the story. But it also has representation for physical disability in here, and sort of mental health as well. And it was just a really beautiful story about unlikely friendships and just how you can touch each other's lives, and it was just really beautiful. So I put this one as, so I think this is going to take some beating. I do not feel that any of the other books, apart from one, are going to be able to beat this. I put it in second place. So it's there. We then got Mrs. Mohr Goes Missing by Mariala Seismicskoa. I do apologise out all the names that I'm butchering. And this is actually an author duo, and that's their pen name from being combined together. And are they a husband team? Oh, the thingy's not in here. How rude of it. So I usually put the little Shelterbox bit of information. Oh, here it says. This book's author, Mariala Seismicskoa, is in fact a duo of Polish writers, Jacek Denhel and Peter Tarinknski, who have been influenced by Agatha Christie and have created a unique, charming, humorous world while additionally focusing on class issues and women's rights or lack of them. I can't remember if they were husbands or friends. I can't remember. No, it doesn't say. I think it might have said in the bit of information, but I can't remember. Anyway, so it's actually two men who wrote this. And it's a mystery, it's a historical mystery, and I think it's either going to hit the mark really well and I'm going to really enjoy it and think it's amazing, or I'm going to appreciate what they're doing but it might just not quite hit those buttons for me. So I put this one as fifth. So I think it's going to be really enjoyable, but maybe I'm not going to enjoy it as much as We Are Displaced. We then have Augustown by Kay Miller, and this is the second one that I have read. So this is set in Jamaica, and it explores it's inspired by Augustown, and it explores that over a few generations. It's got some sort of like folklore legend incorporated in here, and it explores sort of like different class of characters and how people view each other, and it's really, really interesting. It is kind of literary fiction, so I felt it explored a lot of pieces of the world, and I liked its narrative arc and structure. I found that really fascinating, but I didn't quite, because we didn't stay with one character, and we kind of like dipped in and then pulled back, and then dipped into someone else who sort of knew them and pulled back. We didn't kind of like get to know them as well, so I didn't quite get that emotional connection, which is what I really love from reading. So it wasn't kind of like completely hitting all my buttons, but I'm really pleased I read it and I did enjoy reading it. And I have put Augustown as 6th. We then have The Mountains Sing by Nguyen Phan Quay May. Apologies again for all the name butchering. And this one I had heard of, and I was so excited when I received it in the post. Again, it was a book orgasm moment, because I was not expecting to get a book that I knew. When I get Shelterbox, I feel these books are to challenge me and to kind of push me as a reader into kind of exploring different things that I wouldn't usually. But this one was on my list, and I saw, I was going to look up her channel name before I did the video, but it will be in the description box. But anyway, it's Eghy, and she loved this book and spoke about it in one of her videos about how much she loved it, and of course talking about how beautiful the cover is. And it just made her really emotional. It was just such a wonderful story, so I'm really excited to read it. So it's set in Vietnam, and it explores sort of a few different characters during the war, and the sort of their family connection. And it is mainly going off how much Eghy was raving about this book that makes me think that I'm really, really going to enjoy it, to the point that I have put this one. This is the one that I think will be better than Sweet Bean Paste for me. So I have put this in the number 1 spot. Oh, I knew that was going to happen at some point. It's like dominoes, they've all fallen down. Right. I'm just going to put them there. Stay. How long do we think they'll stay? I could start propping them up, couldn't I? I could move the clock. There we go. That works. So just 2 more to go. So we have Typhoon by, I'm going to do it that way, that was it. Typhoon by Quassia Shiraz. I think it's really intriguing by the cover, and I am really interested in reading this. But again, I don't know if it's, I feel it could go either 2 ways. I feel I could either really, really love it, or it could just be a really not me book. So it follows 3 different women. It's described as a tragic story, which makes me think I'm not going to enjoy it. Because I don't mind bittersweet. I don't mind a bit of heartfelt things in there. But the word tragic makes me feel extremely worried that it's just going to be an all-round sad time. And that is not what I enjoy. It has to be very sparingly. So it depends how much I connect to these characters in here. So it sounds like 3 very different women, and we're exploring their lives and how they interconnect. And I think an event happens that pulls them together. And I'm worried it's going to be scary. So we'll see. It's set in Pakistan. It says it's set in a Pakistan village. It doesn't say when. So I don't know if it's modern times or if it's historical. I'm hoping we get a better idea. Okay, it's the first date says 2002 in here. So modern historical. I don't know if it follows generations, if it goes up and down in time. There's many things I don't know. I'm intrigued and I hope I enjoy it, but I have put it as 7th. So it is here. There we go. And the final book was A People's History of Heaven by Mathangi Subramanian. Why have they put that in such an awkward font to read? Like, look how easy it is to read the title and then how difficult it is to read the author's name. And they've also done it on the spine. So it's not like I can look on the spine and then try and read the author's name. Look at that. It's like they're trying to sabotage me from actually being able to pronounce names. And it's the same on the title page. Right, here we go. Right, I'm looking in the copyright bit. Mathangi Subramanian. Mathangi Subramanian. I'm really sorry about butchering all these names. I can't remember what it does say. Sorry, let me just double check something. So I think this is set in India, and it's focused very much on this little community, and it's a whole range of different characters in here, and it's about how they all pull together and survive and try and help their community thrive. And it also mentions like there are characters from different religions. So it says there is a Christian, a Muslim and a Hindu character. And so I love that interfaith being friends feeling. And I really feel like it's just a difficult, hard, but joyous people supporting each other feeling to it. So I have put this one. So this was one of the ones I'd never heard of it, but the premise made me feel really excited about it. So I think, did I put it in third? I think that was the one left. Yes. Yes. Yes, I did. Yes, I put it in the third place. So let me slot this one in. So I think my least favourite, hopefully still enjoying, but I think my least favourite is going to be Three Apples Fell from the Sky, then Typhoon, then Augustown, which I read and enjoyed, but probably not going to keep and reread. Then Mrs. Mohr Goes Missing, so I'm hoping I like that better than Augustown. Then We Are Displaced, A People's History of Heaven at number 3, number 2 Sweet Bean Paste, which I love. I'm hoping that I love just as much, if not a bit more, The Mountains Sing. So that is my Shelterbox ranking. So now I'm going to look at the book covers. And I'm also going to pause so I can check the art. So yeah, I have managed to find out who did all the cover designs, apart from a couple which are just not mentioned. I don't know why. And these two are the two that I like the least in terms of covers. So I think the least favourite cover is kind of the least favourite book. So it's Three Apples Fell from the Sky. I just find it very bland. I'm just not excited by it. I'm not excited by the colours. It just feels very dull. It could be a flyer. I'm just not excited by it. We've got this sort of just beigey brown, and then this picture of a tree. Now usually I quite like the sort of the silhouette shaping, but it's really just not popping out for me. I don't know if it's like how the title is placed on it. I'm just not excited by it. So I'm sorry, Three Apples Fell from the Tree. The next one, it's intriguing, but I feel it's too busy for me. There's just too much going on for here. And this is Mrs. Mohr Goes Missing. So we have a giant skull, a tiny sort of house, and then this character, which I presume is the Mrs. Mohr, Agatha Christie type of person here. They just don't feel connected together. And then the writing is very weird kind of font. I do like that it's got this kind of, it's like cut out of a letter. So you've got this wonderful like handwriting across it. So that's quite cool, but it's kind of missed, like it's not the main focus. And then you've got an eye in the middle of goes. So it's very kind of surrealish. And then on the back, you've still got this weird kind of like, is this like the floor? That kind of goes all the way around, and then you've got these gates, and you've got this random like cherub in some sort of cart. So it's all very disjointed. I don't know if that's the vibe of the book and what it's going for, but it just doesn't jump out, and it wouldn't make me pick it up. It's not appealing. What was I going to go for next? Now, I quite like the rest of the covers. I think the one I'm going for next, I like its boldness and its simplicity, but it doesn't excite me as much as the other ones. So that is Augustown by Kay Miller. I like that it's got sort of like the strong green, yellow and red colours all over it. And it has this like kind of painted quality to it. And I am a fan of like a silhouette head on the front of a book. But compared to the others, it just doesn't quite excite me as much as the other ones. So the next one, I think, so it's between these two. And I think, yeah, I'm going for this one. So the next one is A People's History of Heaven. I really like the colour palette of this, with sort of like the bright kind of sunset orange into bright pink kind of fade. I'm enjoying that, and I love the kind of silhouettes that go a lot across the bottom. So it says Getty Images Shutterstock is the copyright for these images. So I presume it's these silhouettes of girls twirling with scarves in different positions, sort of moving across the bottom part of this. Also, like the way the typeset is, I do not like how they've written the author's name. It's really hard to read. And I don't know, like it's very kind of like blocky, the writing, and then you've just got the image across. So as much as I enjoy the colour palette and like the symbolics, the way it all kind of pulls together with the wording, it just doesn't strike me. I do like the colours of the spine as well. I've got a bit of purple going into pink down the spine, which is very pretty. So then it is We Are Displaced. So we have all these different images of women, sort of like it's that kind of collage feeling overlaid over each other. So I really like the image. The writing across it is all very busy. So there's a lot kind of going on in terms of the author and the title and what the book's about. And because there's a kind of a very busy picture with lots of different people on it, it kind of loses it a little bit. You then have this nice purpley colour on the spine, and then these symbols kind of on the back all in a purpley colour. I don't know if it would have worked just having one colour to make it less busy so the writing stands out. It just feels a bit too much, but I do like the kind of the coloured kind of simplicity of the different images of the women. Okay, now the last three I really, really enjoy. So it's working out which I think it's going to be this one. So Sweet Bean Paste. I again love the colour palette. I love the kind of the pale colours. I love the cherry blossoms against the blue sky, and the three friends all together, sort of like quite central, and then we have their shadows kind of merging together across here. It doesn't feel too busy. The image is kind of given a focus, which is really nice, and we've got the title kind of in the sky. I quite like how it's kind of all underneath each other in the sky, and then the author, you can see both really clearly, and then you've got quotes on the trees. So I really like how everything's placed across here. So it looks very pretty. And then you still have on the spine, you've got all the three different colours. So you've got the pink cherry blossom blushing across the spine there as well. My second one, I really love the colour of Typhoon. I don't know if it's going to be a me book, but I really love the cover. So we have sort of like it could be a mosque tower, but we definitely have sort of like a tower of the Middle East, and sort of the flat roof buildings, all in kind of different like whites and greys. We have got this dark sky across the top. And then we have this figure of a woman sort of looking around, looking behind her and looking like she's running forward. And we have this amazing kind of like skirt going across and all of this flowing. And then we've got this yellow band along the bottom. And I love the colour of the blue. And we've got all the different shades of blue. And again, it's this kind of like collage-y, simple silhouette imagery that I really enjoy. But the Typhoon, you feel the wind of it all, and you feel it kind of looks like waves, and it just looks very dramatic. It looks exciting. So it really kind of pulls you in, and you have her right in the middle. and you have the author and the title very central, but it's not, the way it's placed on here, it's not taking anything away from the image. You can still see everything else that's going on, so I really enjoy that. The spine, you've got a little bit of the colours on, but not quite so much, but then on the back you've got the image of the woman again, sort of near the bottom, which is nice. And obviously the favourite one, the beauty, is The Mountains Sing. It is really, really striking. I love the colour palette. You've got bright oranges fading into yellow, you've got gold foiling, and then again it is this, I really enjoy this kind of like collage image where you've got the bold parts of colour to make up the person. And then you've got the red sun at the top as well, so I really enjoyed that. You've got a really beautiful orange spine when you've still got the yellow and sort of like the green going across it as well. And yeah, and it, nothing like the way the author's name is, the tagline, the title, nothing takes away from like the strong image. It doesn't feel overly busy. So yes, this is the favourite of the covers. So that was Shelterbox. Let's have a little look at Fairyloot in terms of what I think of their covers. So just for fun, I've got them all naked and I thought I'd show you them, how they look together. So this is half of them. So we've got a mixture of whites and blues and purples. And then blacks and browns and a bit of red. I'll kind of display them a bit more for you in a moment. Let me just show you the edges. And then we have all the edges together. So we've got a nice variety of colours, a lot more purple than it kind of looks like you get on the spines. And some have stenciling, some don't. But altogether it is very beautiful. So the way I'm going to decide which I think is the best cover, I'm going to go predominantly by the dust jackets, which I have just taken off Mohr. I am also going to take into account kind of what's under the hardcover, and how it kind of differs to the non-Fairyloot edition, and have a little bit of consideration for like the sprayed edges and end pages, but not so much. That's kind of more just like icing on the cake, kind of decorative side of things. Okay, I've broken them all into 4 groups to make it easier. So I have an idea of like which sections I prefer. I now just need to kind of nail it down a bit further. So we're going to go from bottom to top. So my bottom 3 are, let me grab them. This is going to be fun, trying to pull them all out of this mess. So we have, oh actually, these ones are quite close together. So in the bottom 3, and I'm going to work out which one's worse, we have the ones we burn. We have one dark window, and we have only a monster. So, like I said, mainly basing it on the dust jackets. Whilst this one is pretty, and you know, you've got the gothic building, you've got the central character, she's very small. So if you didn't look closely, it does kind of look like basically it's a little bonfire on top of a bridge. I'd kind of want her to be a little bit bigger and more prominent, but then obviously then that would have to make those bigger, so I kind of get it. But this is pretty much the same as the cover on the regular edition. So admittedly what they've done is they've given you an alternative cover underneath, but we're going by mainly the main cover. And then the rest is because it's just so dark. It's just really dark and hard to see. So I already mentioned kind of when going through it, it's really hard to kind of see. And also on the end pages as well, it's kind of hard to see exactly what's going on. So you kind of lose some of the art because of how dark it is. And the edges are just a plain sprayed green colour. So yeah, I haven't completely decided the order yet, but that's definitely part of it. Only a monster. We have peacock feathers and a watch and different symbols. Again, it's very, very similar. There's not been a huge like change. They usually change up the colour quite a lot from the non-Fairyloot to Fairyloot. I don't think they've done that so much with this one. I do like the purple. I love the edges and the timepiece in the stencil. And I do like the purple foiling. It is really, really pretty. But I am mainly going off the front cover. And also what I found really difficult with this one is to separate the actual title of the book from the tagline. So it's kind of like a whole sentence. Only a monster can kill a hero. So I did wonder, when I first saw the book, is it called Only a Monster Can Kill a Hero? Is that the whole name of it? So that was a little bit confusing. I think there needs to be a bit more spacing in between to make that completely clear. The back is fun. I do like all the kind of the drawing you in kind of taglines on the back, and I like the necklace. But it's not that different. And again, it's very dark with just kind of like a symbol. So it's not completely my favourite, although I do like Under the Dust Jacket better. And I do like the end pages on here. Having read this and knowing who everyone is, I do appreciate the artwork in it. So the art is by, okay, cover illustration, it says 369 Art Studio. Cover design is by Lydia Blagden. And the foil artworks and end paper illustration, it says Ars 28. So Ars 28, I like your work. Oh, I've decided to put the cover back on. Oh, that obviously means I'm finished talking about it. So there we go, that's that one. For One Dark Window, it says the cover design is by Lisa Marie Pompilio and the cover art is by Trevelyan and Shutterstock. And I'm sure the art is great, I just can't see it as well as the other one. So still not entirely sure of the order within this group of three. And we also have The Ones We Burn. It's a weapon on the cover. I like that it's got a sort of a bit of foiling in copper on the writing. The writing is all over the axe, so it is striking, but it's not my favourite. It's it can feel quite generic to other fantasy books because it's all very dramatic. So I'm just not a fan necessarily of just a weapon. It's been done much better by, oh, you can't see them, but by John Gwynne, Faithful and the Fallen, when you have the weapon on the cover and you've got the writing over the top, but it just seems to stand out more in these John Gwynne Faithful and the Fallen ones better, and also you get the weapons on the spine, and I think those are really cool. So it's the same kind of vibe, but it did the Faithful and the Fallen books have just, it just works better than this one for some reason. So yeah, not such a fan of this. And Under the Dust Jacket, we've got the foiling of the character. It's a nice coppery gold. It's probably because it's gold and not purple that I'm not as excited by it. But I love, if it was this cover, I'd be a lot more excited because I just love the kind of I just love the black and white of it. I find it a lot more exciting that it seems to be kind of more of a unique art style. And I've already mentioned that I love the end pages, again, in that art style. The ombre is fun. The orange to black is fun, but that's only a small part of it. So just mainly going by the cover. And I think it is, again, very similar to the cover that's on the non-Fairyloot book. So looking at them all, which one's my least out of the three? This is hard because there's different things I like about all of them in different ways. So if I'm just basing it, I don't know if I can do this at all, on these three covers as it stands, like I think they've all kind of cancelled each other out because they're all incredibly similar to the ones. I think the One Dark Window is the most similar. I think the other ones have got slight changes in colour, but they're all very, very similar to their non-Fairyloot counterparts, but I think they've cancelled each other out by being so similar. I think the most appealing one is One Dark Window, just because I like the kind of the central focus, and it's a little bit more lighter and a little bit more intriguing, whereas the other ones have just kind of got a couple of symbols on them rather than like a full-on kind of like landscape, which I quite like. But I do like what's under the dust jackets of the other two because it stands out a bit more, and the one dark window is too dark, and I do like the end pages of the other two better, and the edges, so they're all kind of very much of a muchness. So I think we'll just go just generic, this is the bottom three, in no order other than that. I can't unpick that. So we're going to move on to the next three, and these ones are, putting down off the shelf, Cruel Illusions, This Vicious Grace, and Blood Scion. So again, in terms of the difference, Cruel Illusions is very, very different to the non-Fairyloot. This is fantastic by Fairyloot compared to what their non-Fairyloot book looks like. These are very similar. I do love the yellow of This Vicious Grace. I think the non one is white, so I much prefer the colour palette of the Fairyloot one. I cannot remember what Blood Scion is off the top of my head. I do think the cover in general though is really, really striking and beautiful. Just as the whole package, I'm not as excited by it as I am to some of the other ones. But I just think this image is incredible. I just think that is really beautiful. But the end pages were just not that exciting, and it's just a block colour. Though I am mainly going off this than anything else. And whilst I do love this and that it's printed on the hardback, I like to see something a little bit different underneath the dust jacket than just the same. So that's why it's in this section. So like if it was just purely being on the front covers, it would be higher up because I do think this is just so striking and such a beautiful image. But when I compare all the other factors, it's within this section. This Vicious Grace, I'm not a fan of sort of like the brown and the sort of the yellowy gold. I would have preferred this if it had gone for like, stayed like the pale yellow and then maybe had like a darker colour as the foiling. I just think that would have looked prettier. It just doesn't look that pretty within these colours. But I do like the lemons on the sprayed edges. They've got some, it's very pretty, the artwork in here. It's very pretty. It is quite generic in kind of like YA. Here's a girl looking longingly this way. Here's a boy looking longingly this way. I do like all the symbolism on the cover with the lemons. I just love all the vibe it gives. So yes, we will work out which order I'm putting them all in. I'm also going to check for cover art. Okay, so jacket art for Blood Scion is by Taj Francis and the design is by Karina Lupp. So lovely, well done, think it's great. This Vicious Grace, the jacket illustration is by Sukuntangan and the cover design is by Lydia Blagden. The end paper and the foil artwork is by Gabriele Agosi. So Gabriele Agosi did the foil art and these end pages, so it is very pretty but not my favourites. And I think because we're judging it on this with the cover underneath, I think this is probably the least favourite, so that's the next one. So that is, these are joint 9th and then this is book 8. Cruel Illusions, separating it from what I hoped it was going to be, I do think it is a very, for the type of book it is, I do think it's a very striking cover. I like the foiling of the red and the dripping of the blood and the gothic castle in here. It's highly effective and I do think it's really beautiful with the red and then the black artwork of the characters on the front. I think that's really cool, and obviously you've got these amazing rose stencils on here, so this is very pretty. So I suppose it's that kind of whole, it's the mixture of that compared with the wonderful striking image of Blood Scion. So it's the difference with how striking this image is. And I think I'm going to say 7 and 6. Except it's not 6, is it? So 12, 11, 10. So the 3 are 10. This Vicious Grace, oh, let's hold them up. So 10 is the ones who burn one dark window and only a monster. 9 is This Vicious Grace. 8 is Cruel Illusions. And 7 is Blood Scion. So let's move on to the next group. And we have, for this one, we have The Darkening, we have Belladonna, and we have the Stardust Thief. I think I might be changing my mind. Hold on, let me just have a think about this. Okay, so it's not going to fit neatly into sections of 3 because I've just re-examined books and I'm struggling. So originally I had Violet Made of Thorns in like the top one, but I've realised actually if I'm judging it mainly on covers, this is not my favourite compared to Belladonna, The Darkening and the Stardust Thief. As much as I love a sunset, I don't quite like this font here, and the flowers are pretty and the thorns, I get it all, but it's the sunset I love. But what made me get really excited is I just love what's under the dust jacket. So I love this. If this was the cover, it'd be different. I love the rooftops with the stars on it, and I love the colours of the ombre sprayed edges. But the actual dust jacket, I don't love it as much as the other ones. But I don't know which whole package of the other one I love to put it into the top set. So I'm just going to bring this one down and explore it with the other ones. So I'm exploring 4. So the winners, we're talking about Violet Made of Thorns. The cover illustration for Violet Made of Thorns is 3 Days March. The cover design is by Natalie Chen. And I presume this says PPC, I presume it's this. And end paper illustrations are by Santandri 2022. So I like Santandri's art on here. Okay, let's have a look at the Stardust Thief. So it's purple, so that's already a win with the foiling, and I do like that it's got a quote on the back as well as having like the symbol on the front. But we just have the block for the end pages, not the end pages, the sprayed edges. But I do love the art on the end pages. I love the colour palette of all the purples, and I love the kind of I love the art style of the characters. And the cover is so cool. So like I said, it's purple, so I already love it. But before that, I really loved it. You do have to come closer to see it. So you've got this, looks like a sort of medallion. It's like a brass engraving. So I don't know if it's supposed to be like a compass. It's got a measure around it. And then it's got all these kind of intricate things. And it's made of like this metal engraving. And then it's got sort of like an Arabian palace, a horse with someone on the horse. I presume that's our Stardust Thief in a cloak, and a lamp. So all the engraving is so cool. But then you've also got these like stone mosaic patterns all over it as well, which is really, really pretty. And then you've got like the magic-y, fiery, swirly bits going on around it. And then on the spine, you've got that symbol again, the brass symbol. So the whole, the front cover is really cool, and then the end pages are cool, but I'm not supposed to be counting the end pages, but it's purple, so that's always winning. Okay, The Darkening, I've always mentioned that I really love, not so much the second one, but this one, I love that end page. I think that is gorgeous. And this is really pretty, like the dark blue with the gold on, and the symbol is really intriguing. And the feather stenciling on the teal is beautiful. And then I really love the artwork on the thing itself. I think the non-Fairyloot is more of a purple, and here we've got this kind of like teal, but as much as I love purple, I really like this one as well, and I feel the blue kind of adds to kind of the storm aspect of it all. But you've got this central figure, so it's really striking. I like the font they've used, and I like how it goes over the sword. And then the foiling works really well, how it goes from, we've got swirling clouds, and like I like how the hair kind of goes into that. And then you've got the lightning coming, but also it's kind of joining into this like cloak of feathers. And then it kind of adds to this symbolism of like a silhouette of a city. So I like how the whole thing's done. I think it's really striking. But then Belladonna, although if I'm comparing like the art of the front, I find this more beautiful than Dead Birds. But if we're thinking of the aesthetic of the book, it is very cottagecore and death and gothic-y, and this is so perfectly suited. I do like this colour palette much more than the non-Fairyloot one, which is more of like lighter shades. I like the darkness and kind of the mauve and the reds and the purples. It kind of feels a lot more kind of like illness and death and kind of goes with the vibe. And then I like under the hardcover, we've got something slightly different. We've got the focus on the berries, and I've already said that I love the end pages on this, and I keep getting the words wrong, the sprayed edges, and I adore the art of the end pages on this as well. It's really strong. And yes, on the back of both the Darkening and Belladonna, I love having all the taglines on the back, like the quotes. I love all of that. And we've got weapons on the back of the Darkening, along with the foiling of the lightning in the sky. And on Belladonna, we've got the Belladonna flower. And then you've got some more at the bottom here. So I love the aesthetic of both of these as a whole. But which one do I like the best? That's the problem, isn't it? I think because I'm judging it on the cover and then considering under the dust jacket, I think it needs to be Violet Made of Thorns, which is number 6. Just because I don't love the dust jacket as much as I love the other 3. And yeah, so although I do really love the skyline, the dust jacket I don't love quite as much. So that's going to be number 6. And now I don't know what to do. So focusing again, I've already said I love the end pages of all of them, so that cancels each other out. Block colour, I'm always going to love stenciling over block cover colour, unless it's just terrible stenciling, but both of these are beautiful, so that's that slightly. And I think I do, or in terms of these, I think I do like the simplicity of this one, but this is, I love the, I'm not such a fan of like the border, but then I suppose it makes it, it does make it look like an old book, doesn't it? But I suppose if it had it on the back, if it had that border on the back as well as the front, that would make it feel old booky. Because it hasn't, it's just got writing, it doesn't quite feel the same. And then Belladonna, I do like the printing of it, but if I was looking at, in terms of my own preferred art style, I do prefer the Darkening and Stardust Thief over Belladonna, just because Dead Birds freak me out. But of the overall package, I do think Belladonna is just done so well. But if I am basing it mainly on the book cover, then I think I do prefer these 2 to this one. So I think I'm going to put Belladonna as number 5. I am starting to make decisions. I feel proud of me. Do you feel proud of me? Okay. Right, Stardust Thief and the Darkening. I think I'm going to go for the Darkening over the Stardust Thief. I think I've surprised myself with that, because I do really, really love the Stardust Thief. But I think the more I've looked at the Darkening, the more I just love how the different parts feed into it. And I feel it's going to work really well with that story. So that means Stardust Thief is number 4, which means the Darkening is in 3rd place. But then when you look at that, you're like, yeah. But I do love the other ones as well. Shh, stop talking, Charlotte. You're being silly. Right, okay, so Darkening's in 3rd place for aesthetically pleasing. And the last 2 I've already done. So I'm going to put them on the shelf. As I've been putting them on the shelf, I am quite happy with how I've organised the final 3 that I couldn't choose between, the first 3 that I couldn't choose between. I've actually put Only a Monster as my least favourite in terms of the aesthetically pleasing, just because thinking about the cover, it is just so very similar. And out of the 3 covers, I did prefer One Dark Window out of the 3 main ones, but I really liked I like the end pages of both Only a Monster and The Ones We Burn, but I think out of the 2 I prefer the end pages of The Ones We Burn. So I'm happy with having it Only a Monster, One Dark Window, The Ones We Burn. Then we have Vicious Grace, then Cruel Illusions, then Blood Scion, Violet Made of Thorns, Belladonna, The Stardust Thief, The Darkening, and in at number 2 we have Daughter of the Moon Goddess. So I love the cover. I love the flowers and the birds and the title being in the moon. I think it's gorgeous. And then you get the moon on the spine as well, which is beautiful. And it is very different in colour palette to the original one. So the original one is much more pink and green. And I love the blue hues and the purple tones that they've chosen. It's absolutely beautiful. And then just bearing in mind slightly, we have got the sprayed edges. Now this is the winner of the sprayed edges. It is just incredible. We've got the bird and we've got the flower and the night and the stars, and it is the best sprayed edge. And I do enjoy the foiling on the cover, and the end pages are gorgeous. They are just so beautiful. But it is mainly going on a little bit of underneath the dust jacket and the front cover itself. So Daughter of the Moon Goddess is 2nd, which means that my favourite cover, the Beauty of Beauties, goes to The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. I love this art piece. There's so much going on. I love all of the sort of like the sea and the clouds, and then the girl falling, and you can see that fall, and it's central and it's eye-catching. You've got the title in the middle, and then you've got everything else framing it, so it is not busy. You can really clearly see it. And then you've got these really interesting buildings in this kind of underwater palace. The colour palette is gorgeous. We've got lots of pinks and corals and blues, which is beautiful, which is very different to the sort of like the yellows and greens and purples of the non-Fairyloot version, but I love both of them. I think I have grown fonder of the coral as time has gone on. I've just really enjoyed this colour. And then under the dust jacket, this is such a beautiful picture. Oh, I stopped talking about who that did all the art, didn't I? I'll go back to that. We've got this amazing picture here of our protagonist with this sort of sea serpent. It's just beautiful. And I also absolutely loved the art style. It's really quite different to some of the other ones. The art style is really beautiful. It looks like it could be, it just feels kind of like slightly more folktale-y. Like the art style is just really cool. And obviously the end pages, you've got this stenciling of this serpent, which is gorgeous. But it is mainly being on the front cover and the under the dust jacket a little bit. But yes, The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Eghy has got my favourite art, and I think it is Carl James Mountford who did the cover design. Yeah, cover illustration is Carl James Mountford, cover design by Lydia Blagden. She's popped up quite a bit, hasn't she? She's so good with the design. And the foil art and the end papers, which I really love, are by Kun Yu. So Kun Yu, love your artwork, it's gorgeous. Oh, also we haven't paid attention to on the. It's a good job I didn't do this, or we'd be doing this for all of them. But the on the flip side, when you open the book, you've got the little flaps. Got a jellyfish on here. How cute is this jellyfish? Look at that. And then this little bird. Beautiful. Right, I will tell you the other ones. So, cover illustration is by Tegan White in Belladonna. Cover design, Lydia Blagden. Lydia, I do like your work. And the end paper illustration is by Monali Mint. And the hidden cover artwork is by Tata Jha. Oh, so it's the cover illustration and the underneath were by two very different artists, which is cool. But I really particularly like the end paper, as I said, so that's Monali Mint. Very cool. Okay, Stardust Thief is jacket art is Laura Pampanito. I think we had Lauren Pampanito on another one as well. And does it say end pages? Let me have a look. The map is credited, but the end papers aren't. So I've no idea who did the end papers for the Stardust Thief. So we don't get that. The darkening. Oh, flipping heck. Cover design and illustration is by Andrew Davis. And the end papers and board foil is by Tata Jha. Again, I think I've heard that name before. So again, beautiful work in here. Daughter of the Moon Goddess. Jacket design is by HarperCollins Publishers Limited. Jacket illustration is by Jason Chung Art. And do we have any acknowledgement of who did the end pages? Let me pause. So no crediting of the end papers in Daughter of the Moon Goddess, but they're really pretty. Right, let's just show you the last bit. So there we go. That is all of the Fairyloot in terms of least to favourite artwork. Crash. Thank you so much for watching. This has taken me 2 hours. It was not supposed to take this long, but hey ho, I did have fun doing it. I hope you enjoyed watching. Feel free to get chatty in the comments because you know I love a chat, and a happy reading everyone.